Can you share your screen? Here. Can you hear me? Can anyone else hear you? I'm gonna move it.
I can hear stuff.
Here we go. Can you hear me, Tim?
I can.
Okay, I'm having a hard, I'm gonna try and switch you. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Excellent. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, and that one sounds like you're in a cave.
See, that's what they were saying. I'm gonna keep it here. Back. Okay. I'm gonna keep the speaker on my Mac. So if y'all have something to say in Tim's presentation, you better yell because it's my speaker here, but the microphone should be the conference thing. And you should have the ability to share your screen, Tim.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Tim.
Okay.
How is everyone today?
Hi, Tim.
So are we ready to get started?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right, perfect.
Yes.
Good to see everyone. Sorry I'm not there. I was actually supposed to be there live, and then last Thursday, something unfortunately came up today that I could not get out of. So sorry to be seeing you by Zoom. I wish I was there having pizza with you. I am a realtor after all, so free food is attractive, you know. So just somebody put their hand up that everybody can hear me well. Just okay. So my volume's good here. All right. Well, thanks for having me. For those of you that don't know me or who I am or we haven't met, I am one of the leaders in the Easy Referral Network, which Stephanie Weiss's team, our team there in Pittsburgh. I see Chris from our team is there and as well. They're part of our organization. We are based in Ohio. We're the #1 team in Ohio and growing rapidly in Pittsburgh there. So it's exciting to work with Steph and our team. I run our training programs. I run a lot of our coaching stuff, do a lot of work with the team leaders. So I teach nonstop. In fact, I just looked at my schedule in May. I'm teaching 17 classes. So I'm constantly talking. So if my voice goes, I already taught today and I teach tonight. So if my voice cracks or does anything really weird, it's not puberty. It's that I've been talking too much today already. So I'm going to share a screen here in a second, but what we're going to talk about today is something that I think is really, really critical as we go forwards in the industry. We're going to talk about creating business from where it doesn't really exist. So let me let me share a screen here. All right, why didn't it pull my screen up? Try this again. Gotta love technology when it works, right? And Steph, it's not whoever's running it, it's not it says I'm screen sharing, but it's not sharing it. You're not seeing what I'm seeing at least.
It came up at first, but it's not there. I can see that.
Did it come on as anything but a black screen?
Yes. Not now.
Very strange.
It was on at first, the first thing, like am I, and then there was like red, yellow, and green. And then it went away.
Something just came up and it was just dark, but it definitely changed my screen.
it's interesting because my entire screen is now dead. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I think I just saw, Tim, was your black screen.
Yep, it just, for some reason, my entire screen just died. So I'm gonna reopen. Like I say, technology is wonderful when it works.
Sometimes that happens to me at work, and I will unjack that screen from the power and plug it back in, and it'll reset it.
There we go. Hopefully now this will work. Try this again. I just assume that it's the internet in the office or something to do with the people that do that stuff. Can you see
There
that?
we go.
There we
Yep.
go. All righty. So this is a class that I used to teach all the time about creating business. And I kind of stopped for a while because the market got so busy back right before COVID that, and even into COVID, where people weren't worrying about it. And now we're all worrying about it. Now I think it's pretty safe to say that 90% of agents are down or struggling or worried about going down this year in business. And it's not really our fault. It's, interest rates don't help. Inventory is so tight, it doesn't help. The media doesn't help. There's a lot of factors out there. So I brought this class back, and I actually just taught this the other day, and people, I was getting all kinds of calls and stuff afterwards. But this is really focused on creating business out of nowhere. I'm going to ask a favor because I can't see you guys. I've got the screen up in front of me now, so the PowerPoint. So if you have a question, just scream. Interrupt, please don't hesitate at all. You're not going to offend me. But this class will give you some good ideas. My goal is that after we're done today, that you've got some ideas that you take out, you use, call me with any questions one-on-one. Stephanie has all my contact info. I'm glad to meet with anybody and just chat about their business. But let's start with the reality. And this is something that's always been the case. We've always had a limited number of people planning to buy or sell in a year. It could be 10,000 people, it could be 20, it could be 50. But right now, if we polled everyone in Pittsburgh, there's a certain number of people that are planning on buying or selling this year. That's true every single year. What's happened to us in recent years that's been a little unfortunate is as inventory has tightened up, that number has gone down. You cannot find a city in this part of the country, anywhere in the Midwest, East Coast, Northeast, where the number of closings total have not gone down. That's an inventory issue. There's people that want to sell but they can't find a house, etc. So every agent out there is limited by the fact there's X number of people that are going to buy. That tells you how many closings there's going to be at most. And that tells us we're competing. So I'm just going to use a made up number because it's easy math. But let's say there's 10,000 homes selling in Pittsburgh this year, and there's 4,000 agents. That means it's 2.5 closings per agent. Obviously, some do zero, some do a lot. But there's if it's 10,000 closings, if it's 20,000 closings, that's what 99.9% of realtors are fighting over. And that's what this class is trying to solve. Yes, we do have to compete. Yes, we're going to be fighting with our peers. Yes, we're going to be dealing with this, and its inventory is going to stay down for probably a couple years now, according to all the experts. But there's a better way to go about this. So if everyone can agree right now, there's a certain number of people. People that are looking to buy or sell. You already have an idea how many clients you're probably going to have this year. This is a self-limiting belief. This is the same belief as believing, hey, I'm a new agent. These people aren't going to use me to list their $1 million home. They're going to go with a veteran. This is a belief that is self-limiting. And I will tell you what, I've been teaching and coaching full-time since 2008. I sold 350 million in 16 years before that. Self-limiting beliefs have been the problem since the day I got into this business, and this one probably more than any. So I'm going to just blow this thing away. I'm going to completely annihilate this belief because you can create business that no other agent has a shot at. There is business out there that does not know that they're going to buy or sell this year. They haven't even thought about it. They haven't talked about it. And that's really what this class is going to talk about, is how do we get that business? If you're selling 6 deals this year because you're fighting for your little cut of that number, if you can get 6 deals from people that aren't planning today to buy or sell, that's creating business. That's creating business that no other agent's going to have a shot at. If you create it, it's yours. That's the magic. And it's true of almost any sales. It's not just our industry, but it really is the magic of our industry. And you've heard it, you know it's there. I guarantee all of you have heard someone say, you know, I wish I owned a rental property, or, you know, I wish I bought some rentals when I was younger, or, you know, one of these days I ought to invest in real estate. We've heard that from friends. We've heard that from dentists, CPAs, people in bars. We've heard that over and over and over and over. Most people never actually follow through on that, I wish. And most agents never bring it up. It's in casual conversation. They don't go, wow, I can help you with that. But that business is all around us. I actually had a friend just last week. He's known me since before I got into real estate. And he just mentioned to me, you know, I should have bought some rental properties. And my response was, well, it's not too late. There's good opportunities out there right now if you want to get started. And he's actually working with one of my agents on looking at his first rental property. That business is out there. Those people exist. They're not planning on buying or selling this year, but it's in their vernacular. It's in their verbiage. They say, I wish I'd owned rental properties. The second question, and no, I don't expect anyone to know this, and I apologize, I don't know this accurately in Pittsburgh. In Columbus, I could tell you. But does anybody have any idea how many people in the Pittsburgh market are renting single-family homes? I can tell you there's thousands of them. My guess is there's tens of thousands of them. There are right now on Zillow alone 900 advertised in the Pittsburgh market, single family homes for rent. And that's in a 1-day snippet. I looked it up this morning. So there's tens of thousands of single family homes rented. Those people don't plan on buying or selling this year. But that's the reality there is that's business that can be turned into business that you're not talking to right now. We're all surrounded by people who don't think they can buy. There's an interesting study. They just released it again. They do it about every 3 years. And one of the big questions they ask renters, it's a study of renters, is how much down payment do you think you need to buy a house? And for the first time in 30 years they've been doing it, the answer was not 20%. Renters think they need 15% down. So they've moved from 20, which is what it always was before. But imagine all these people that aren't thinking about buying a house because they think they need 15%. They don't know that there's 0% programs. There's, 3.5% FHA. There's down payment assistance programs. But there's all these people renting, living at home with their parents, living with friends, sharing places. There's all these people that actually aren't buying because they don't think they can. They also, imagine the guy renting a single family home, paying $1,800 a month in rent, doesn't think he can buy because his credit score is not high enough. If he's renting that house and had to apply for credit, his credit score is good enough to buy a house. The financing is out there, but people don't know they can buy. My pet peeve with agents, by the way, is this next one, that they don't understand financing well enough. Financing can help you close more deals. Financing can turn people that aren't planning on buying or selling into buyers. But if you don't really understand financing, you're going to lose some sales. You're going to lose some opportunities. So the financing goes, especially with renters, it really goes together. But with investors, I bet most of you do not know you can buy rental properties in Pittsburgh with 10% down, and there's no credit or income verification. It is done 100% based on the property and the rent roll. If it makes enough money, there's a lender that will do it with 10%. If you know that and you know where to get that loan, that you can help people that are not thinking about buying or selling. So financing is something that a lot of agents don't spend enough time learning. And I know lenders say, well, you don't need to know that. I take care of it. The more financing you know. There's a program here in Columbus, for example, and I know for a fact there's one similar to it out there. They give out two $50,000 down payment grants a year to people that served in Vietnam, and it's not paid back. It's an application, and if you served in Vietnam in combat, you get 50 grand down payment. They do two of them. There are hundreds of things like that if you know where to get it and how to find the money. There are subsidized houses, there are payment controlled houses, which a lot of people call tax abated, where you're buying and you're not paying property taxes for years, up to, in some cases, up to 20, usually 15. And when we talk about there's people that aren't going to sell, you can't go to a neighborhood where there's not an owner that would sell. Every neighborhood, there's people that want to sell. They just don't have anywhere to go. They're complaining about interest rates. They can't find a house, or they just, they're worried if we sell, we're going to be living in a hotel. But you cannot find the neighborhood and knock on doors where there's not someone who wants to sell a house. But they're not going to sell. They're not planning on it. So the big question with this class that I want to get you thinking about is all of these people that are not planning on buying or sell, how can you turn them into clients? How can you find them? One of the agents I coach, she's one of my pride and joy clients. She hired me, her husband paid me because she wasn't making any money. She was in the industry 3 years and sold a total of 8 houses. She worked hard. She didn't work smart, but she worked hard. But everything that could go wrong to her went wrong. Deals fell apart, appraisal issues, clients losing jobs. Every time she got something in contract, it seemed it died. She came to me and I taught her one program. She's in her second year using it, and she's closed 31 houses this year to date, not one of which was a buyer that was planning on buying. Not one. She's created every one of those deals because she got out of the box and stopped competing with the rest of the agents. So that's what we want to think about. That's what we want to talk about. Yell out if there's any questions so far. Someone yell something.
I think we're good.
Tim, you're killing it.
Good, no questions. I always feel weird when I'm teaching by Zoom and I'm looking at a PowerPoint because I don't see the crowd. So what I want to go through is I kind of want to go through several ideas. These are going to be fairly general walkthroughs because each one is class worthy, and I do teach classes in each one of these, but this will give you some general ideas and some general steps. So let's start with the investors. Again, I bet every one of you has heard people say, I wish I owned rental property. I've always thought about buying a rental property, or someday I should own rental property. I bet right now someone you can think of that has said that recently. How do you create investors, which is really what you're doing? You're turning wine to water, except you're turning non-buyers to buyers. You're getting people to go, hold it. Yeah, now is the year I should buy something.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
I tell people that they can buy up to a fourplex with an FHA loan at 3.5% down if they'll just live there for a year.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. They can buy two doubles, triples, quads. They can buy quads, turn around and only live in them part of the year. It has to be primary residence, but out of state owners. But you can buy 4 units with 10% down if you know how to get the financing done too, which makes them a whole lot more attractive. Now you can hold first-time investor classes. There are some agents that do a really good job with those. They'll have 10, 15 people in on a Saturday morning. They'll have a lender come in and talk about financing for investments. They'll talk about rents and cap rates and things like that. So one way to do it is to use social media, use your marketing. When you hear about people that want to buy, who have thought about it, holding first-time investor classes works really well for some agents. If you're not a good presenter, if you don't like doing that, then don't do it. But it definitely works. I know agents all across the country that do a monthly investor class. I know agents that have taken it to the next step, and they have a monthly Zoom meetup where they talk about investments. They'll have 20, 30 people on the meetup, and they'll actually present actual homes that are on the market at the time of the meetup so that they're actually showing examples. but holding investor classes to people that aren't already planning on buying, marketing the idea of owning rentals on social media, not saying, hey, if anybody's looking to buy a house, here's a house. Talk about the investment potential. Talk about someone who bought a rental 5 years ago, it's appreciated this much, their rent is this much, they're making this much money, here's the tax break. Market the concept. There are people right now, again, that I want to buy an investment property. That's not who we're talking about. That's your mainstream fighting with all the other agents for. This is getting the people that have thought about it but aren't ready to do it, or they don't think they're ready. So if you want to create investors, market the ideas of why you want to be an investor. That, hey, if you buy 3 houses in the next 3 years and you own them for 15 years, they'll be paid for. You'll have this much equity with a 3% appreciation. You'll have this much money. In the meantime, tax deductions, etc. If you don't know how to calculate that, find an agent who does, or have your CPA help you. But you can market the concept. That concept will get people calling you. You will get people reaching out going, I've always thought about it. I wasn't planning on it, but some of the stuff you've been saying, it really does make sense. What would I need to do? It will create investors that are not current today investors. Keep your ears open. I don't know if you guys have a Cooper's Hawk restaurant in Pittsburgh, but if you do, you know what it is. If you don't, it's a restaurant that makes its own wine. You go in the front door and they have a big wine tasting area, and then they have food in the back. My wife and I stopped by for a wine tasting, and sure enough, the guy standing right next to me with his wife on Mother's Day, they're talking about buying a rental property. And what was going on was his brother owns a bunch and keeps telling them they should buy. And what I heard from her was maybe next year they should start thinking about buying one. Well, they have my card. I have their contact info. I wasn't rude or weirdo stalker about it. We had about a 2-minute conversation about investment properties. He called me Monday morning with some questions, and we actually have a meeting next week to talk about, what do they need to do so that they can own a rental property by the end of the year. And that literally was a conversation just going on next to me. I've heard people talking about investment properties in Starbucks. I've heard them talking about it at the dentist's office. It's a very common thing. The goal here is taking them from, I wish I did, or maybe someday, to why not now? Why not do it? The key thing here, if you're going to try to build investors, is always have options to present. You don't want to say to someone who says, wow, I would, if it was the right thing, I'd consider it. Well, let me go back home and spend an hour on the computer and see what's out there. If you're going to try to work investors, have it with you. Set up a search as if you were an investor, so you have up-to-date listings on your phone. You can pull it up anywhere you are. Have lenders, contact information, be able to talk the talk, be able to say to someone, hey, did you know you can buy an investment right now in these certain areas? There's tax abatements, there's this. Make sure you have the information with you, ready to email them, ready to talk about. But you will create investors out of the air. You truly will. You just have to listen and put it out there. Again, this is not going after the investors that have 40 realtors looking for them. This is the person who doesn't have a realtor looking because they're not planning on it. And all of a sudden you talk to them, you have a conversation, they go, I'm interested. Maybe this is the year we should do this. The people that do this well, Jerry Hart, if you follow Jerry, he is down in Atlanta. He sells about 150 investment properties a year. He spent several years building a database. He was in social media. He was on investor groups. He was posting stuff. And he started to build a database of potential investors, not actual investors, potential investors. People that said, someday in the next few years, maybe when my kids are out of school, maybe next year, maybe I'd like to own rental property. And he built a database, and he ended up with about 100 potential investors in it. Those 100 potential investors are generating 100 to 200 closings a year for him. He built a whole campaign using actual opportunities. He would post a house saying, hey, my client bought this 6 months ago. it was worth 150. They put down 15. This is the rent. They're making this much per month. The tax write-off is saving them this, and it's already appreciated 2%. He uses real opportunities. He has the partners to make it happen. So he has lenders that are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal with investment properties. He has handymen, he has contractors, he has HVAC, etc. So that it's easy for one of these people to say, you know, Jerry, I would be interested in maybe, I think I would be interested in buying a rental, but I'm scared about all this. I don't know how to do this stuff, or I don't have time to do it all. He makes it easy. He finds them the house, he finds them the financing, he finds them the people to fix up anything. He even handles renting them and finds them the tenants if they're not tenant occupied. He makes it super easy so an investor can just say, okay, here, I'll fill out the application and here's my check and I'll sign the offer. He markets to a lot of out-of-state agents. He and I are in a mastermind group that has an awful lot of California agents in. And every time he gets a chance, he talks about, hey, if you've got people in California that want to buy investment properties, there's some areas in Georgia outside of Atlanta that are phenomenal places to own investment properties. Rents are high, they're still reasonable to buy. You know, Pittsburgh and Columbus, I'm sitting in Columbus, you guys, of course, are in Pittsburgh. These are markets that are, people in California, Oregon, Washington State, Connecticut, you know, New York City. God, what they can buy here for investment properties is pennies on the dollar to what they're used to at home. So if you're reach out to agents. Just use Keller Williams referral network and meet agents. Put things out there to the agents on the West Coast that, hey, if they've got investors looking to buy, you know, buy in this part of the country, you're there to help. You do this, and what have you done? You've created sales that weren't there before. I'm betting right now that if I said nod your head if you'd agree, if you actually did this, could you add 4 closings a year to your book of business in the next 12 months? I bet every one of you shaking your head yes. You could add a lot more than that. But this is an easy opportunity to add 4 or 6 closings to your book of business. And if you close those people, they're now your client. They'll buy with you again and again and again and again. They'll probably at some point sell properties with you. So you're not creating competition. You're actually creating a client who has no reason to go to another agent. Say yes if that makes sense.
Yes.
Scream yes if you actually already do this. Okay, good. Then everybody's got one idea from today. We're already ahead. So that's one really good place to create business. Now, this is my favorite. This takes a system. I will teach a class or meet with anyone one-on-one and show you exactly what I do, but it will take an hour, hour and a half. So I don't want to spend the whole class on this, but I will use the word almost guarantee. If you do this, you will see a huge jump in your business. There's a lot of agents that work apartment dwellers. They're mailing postcards, they're mailing letters, they mail apartments, or they door knock, or they door drop, you know, they do door hangers. There's a ton of agents working apartment dwellers. Almost never do I hear anyone say, yes, I actively work single family home renters. Why? A, apartments are easier to find. You drive by an apartment building, you know it's an apartment building. You drive by a house, you don't know if it's a renter. But you know what? Apartment people, there aren't that many people that move from apartments to single family homes. A lot of them stay renters for years and years to come. A lot of apartments, well, with rent right now, you know, a lot of 2-bedroom apartments are actually 2 couples renting because they can't afford it on their own. A lot of apartment dwellers are younger, or they want to rent. They're not in a mindset of wanting a single family home because that means work. Hey, got to cut the grass, got to pull weeds, got to plow the driveways, all those things. There are a lot of single family renters, and few, if any, agents work them. So I created this program years ago for a coaching client. I now have about 15 of my coaching clients that do this, and I've taught it to hundreds of people. Unfortunately, very few ever did it and followed up on it. But the ones that do, every single one has had huge benefit from it, huge results. Single family renters are easy to find. If you go to Zillow right now, Zillow has, Realtor.com has, they have a for rent tab. And you can go in and look at all of these addresses that are currently for rent. That's a database. Like I said, I pulled up Pittsburgh greater area, and there were either 800 or 900 single family homes and condos for rent right now that were active. I don't have access to your MLS, so I don't know how many are in the MLS that are not on Zillow. I just used Zillow this morning. But if you look at that over the course of the year, you can build a database of thousands, tens of thousands of single family renters. That gives you, when you look on Zillow, for instance, tells you 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, how many baths. It tells you how much the rent is. It tells you what part of town, and it shows you pictures of what it looks like. Guess what those houses are going to be a year from now? A year from now, there's going to be a renter living there who's thinking, am I going to sign another year lease? Am I going to move? Am I going to buy a house? And everyone that moves into a single family rental needs a single family home. That's why they're not going to an apartment. They either have dogs, they have kids, they need swing sets, school districts, whatever it is. All these people that are going to rent these single family homes that are being advertised, they're homeowners to be. They're at a point in life where they need a single family home. Why did they rent? Maybe they couldn't find a single family inventory. We know the problems. Maybe they didn't think they could buy. Maybe they just moved to town and weren't sure what part of town. Maybe they had to move quickly. Who knows what it is? But they moved to a single family home for a reason. That's like the guy that just traded in his 2-seat sports car and bought a minivan. I'm betting you he has kids at home or just got married to someone with kids because he needed a minivan. He went and bought one, because no one would buy a minivan because it's cool. You know, you don't sell your little 2-seat sports car to get a minivan because it's a cool thing to do. You did it because you needed it. People that buy SUVs bought them because they needed the carrying space. They needed more space, the third row seats, etc. People that rent single family homes did it because they needed a single family home. That tells you they're 3 steps out of 4 to buying. Far, far more likely to buy than apartment dwellers, and no one is working them. Question for you guys. Someone say yes or no. Can you look at rentals in your MLS?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. The easy part of this database, if anyone wants to really work this, like I said, reach out to me one-on-one. I'll give you all the details and samples and stuff. But you can go from this meeting, you can go to the MLS. You can do a search back 8 months. Things that closed 8 to 9 months ago that were renters. Those people right now are starting the discussion about what are they going to do when their lease is up, because they got to decide in the next 60 days. Are they going to sign a new lease and stay another year? Are they going to go find a different rental, or are they going to buy? So this is not just a program that you can start collecting data on and start working down the road. You can use the MLS ones, reach out to those addresses, reach out to those people. There are people right now at dinner tonight that you can find in your MLS that are going, honey, what are we going to do? The lease is coming due. Are we staying here? Or are we going to buy? What are we going to do? Those are buyers right now that no one else is working with. If they haven't decided yet, that's why I say I like to start working them at 8 months in. So 8 months after the MLS says it was rented, that's 4 months before their lease is up. That's when they're starting to think about it. Odds are they have not made a decision yet. Those are people, if you're reaching out, if you're talking to, if you're mailing to, door knocking, dropping by, calling, those are people that are not planning on buying right now. They're not working with the realtor. You've just created business out of the air. But you know they qualify because they're paying the big rent and they qualified to rent a single family, which means their credit score was good enough. You know they want a single family because that's what they rented. And you know odds are very, very high that no realtors are working them, because no realtors ever think to work single family rentals. I'm pausing for dramatic, it's a dramatic pause. How's that? Hopefully your brain's just a little light bulb just went on and it's like, hold it. Tim's right. There's thousands, tens of thousands of people in Pittsburgh that are renting single family homes or condos. They're buyers to be. There's a number, by the way, people that rent single family homes above $1,200 a month rent. 84% of them will buy a home in the next 2 years. Those people don't stay long. They buy. It's an incredibly high rate. People in apartments in 2 years, it's less than 20%. Where would you rather put your work? I would rather put it where the odds are better in my favor. It does take a little more work because they may be scattered all over the neighborhood, all over town, but you can mail to them. What I would do, I had 3 postcards that went out. One went out right at 8 months, one went out 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, and then I door knocked. And all the people I coach and suggest do this, that's what I have them do. And it works. It's amazing how those conversations can go, how interested people are. And if you have the financing and you have the answers to all the questions, it's very easy to take a single family renter and show them, hey, down the street, you can buy the home you're renting for the same payment or very similar payment, and you get equity, you get the tax write-off, you can paint the walls without permission, you can do whatever you want because you own the home, and you build generational wealth. That's a very easy conversation and conversion to have. So again, track the date they moved in. One of the agents that started doing this, they would drive around and look for rent signs all through Westerville, Ohio, which is one of our little suburb communities here. And they would actually they'd write down the address and everything, and then they'd go back by it, and they'd go back by it until the sign was gone. And they would make note it rented. And then 8 months later, they would start. They would use the MLS. The MLS is a great tool. If you want to start calling people or working people right away, just go look up all the rentals that have closed in the MLS in the area you want to work, and go back to the ones that closed 8 months ago, and then the ones behind that. The ones that are 7 months in, 6 months in, 5 months in, and you'll have a database for every month coming up. Begin marketing 8 months from the date, 3 mailers and a drop by. There's the Cliff Note version of my program. It works. It's a no-brainer. It's, I think, one of the smartest things that I ever personally created. When I used it for about 3 years, and it was generating 40, 50 closings a year. And then I stopped using it because I stopped selling. But I have clients right now that I coach that have 8,000 and 9,000 rental properties in their database they're farming. And you're not talking 30 closings, you're talking literally hundreds. I have a lot of agents that farm just a small number, and every year it's 6, 10 extra closings. But it's creating business that isn't there right now. It's getting to people before they decide to buy, and before they meet another agent, and before you have competition. Dramatic pause. Any questions real quick on the rental idea? Someone say, I'm here, so I know you haven't all fallen asleep.
We're here.
We're here.
Do you like that idea?
Yes.
It works. Reach out to me, like I said, one-on-one, or if there's a small group of you there, we'll go into more detail. All right, expired listings. Expireds are a weird animal. We know that what we know is they wanted to sell. And we know for some reason they didn't. Most of these people are actively sellers. Now, yes, they have a realtor that listed the house, and then for whatever reason, it came off the market. Sometimes it's because they couldn't find anywhere to go. I mean, you guys know the market, inventory is low. In some cases, rates went up so quickly, they said, well, I'm not giving up my 3.5% interest rate. Sometimes it was people were getting divorced. Oh, no, we're not. We're staying together. Oh, we're worried we're losing our jobs. We're being transferred. Oh, no, we're not. There's so many reasons that listings expire. If listings go 6 months and didn't sell, hey, we're realtors. We know what happened. They overpriced the house, or the house is a piece of garbage. But you see a lot of expireds and withdrawns that after like a month, 2 months were pulled out of the market. And remember, expired listings include withdrawns. If you can solve their problem, there are clients to be found. If they just sit there, eventually they're likely to call the realtor they worked with before. But the scary thing is, studies of expired listings and withdrawns show that the realtor they were working with does not contact them for 6 months after it's withdrawn. 6 freaking months, they don't reach out. They just assume the people are going to call them. Well, there's that window of opportunity for you to talk to these people and figure out what their problem was. And if they say, well, we just couldn't find anything. Well, if you found something, would you sell? Well, yeah. Or they'll say, well, the financing, the interest rates, what if you could get a 5.25% interest rate? Would you still be interested in selling? Well, yeah. There's that window of opportunity there for you to bring someone back to the market that left. They're not planning on doing anything this year. You can bring them back and create business. And the expired list is right there in the MLS. You can buy lists that have all the phone numbers and things on, but the information is right there. The house, the address, everything, how long it was on the market, what the history is. We have agents that work expireds. It's half their business. And mostly it's just being able to solve the problem. And what solves the problem in a lot of cases are new builds. Because new builds, a lot of the builders are running, we've got one here running 5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed. A lot are running 5.5 right now, and they have inventory. They have specs, they have build to suits. The builders solve a lot of the problems for people that have expireds, but most realtors weren't using new builds. They weren't showing them new builds as an option. So expireds is a great place to find and create business. The build side, wow. What a great way to create business that wasn't there before. You would all agree that there are way too many pictures of houses and amazing kitchens and amazing family rooms, amazing outdoor patios that none of us are ever going to own because we live in older homes that there's no way to do that. But we look at them, even as realtors, we look at them. Why? Because everybody wants the open kitchen, the bright house, the amazing outdoor living space with the built-in fireplace, the built-in outdoor kitchen. They want the upstairs deck off the master. Every time we post pictures like that, people look at it. It's just the way it is. We know sellers are hesitant, but we know sellers are seeing those amazing kitchen pictures. And we know the husband or wife, whichever one cooks, is going, wow, I wish I had that kitchen. We know that there are sellers who feel frozen due to interest rates, but that doesn't mean they don't want a nicer home. That doesn't mean that they don't want a home that's more modern, that's more open. That doesn't mean they don't want to have a home without a formal dining and living room that they never actually use, but they still have to vacuum once a week. We know there are people that look at all these pictures. They look at barn dominium pictures. They look at downtown penthouse condos. We all do it. We look and go, wow, that's really cool. I'd love to live there. But they're not making the move. Partly because inventory is limited, partly because of rate, partly because they don't, it's great. Like, wow, I want that kitchen, but they don't know where to go to get it. Because all the homes around where they live that they know have old kitchens like they do. If you can master new build sales and you can really put out and advertise new builds, and there are a lot of builders that will, there's a lot of builders that will let you advertise their spec homes. They'll let you put pictures up. They may not let you use their name. Their spec lists, builders put them out all the time. I mean, you guys have Miranda Ryan, et cetera, there. They're putting spec home lists out all the time. New builds will get people excited. One of the best sales tools I ever used when I sold, if I sold a new build, I would do it on most houses, but on new builds, I did it 100% of the time. I'd ask the homeowner, I'd say, hey, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after you move in, I'd like to host a housewarming party for you. I'll take care of getting drinks and food. I'd usually hit the lender up to help out. But I'd say, and give me a list of your friends. I'll handle the invites and everything. So you guys can just show off your new house, get some housewarming gifts, and see your friends. And I would throw housewarming parties. And what would happen is all their friends would walk into this gorgeous new build, and you'd actually see it happen right in front of you. The wife would look at the husband and go, okay, we need to think about a new house. Look at this kitchen. I want this. Or the husband would go into the finished media room in the basement and go, honey, we should think about moving. We should think about a new house. And right in front of me, they were saying these things, and I was being introduced to them by their friend. I was being endorsed. So a lot of agents I know don't want to sell new builds. I know that some of the builders aren't paying full commissions. They're paying smaller rates. I'm not even sure what Ryan is doing at this point. It gets stupider and stupider by the day. But there's a lot of builders that happily pay us. There's a lot of builders that'll pay 2%, which is better than 0. especially if it's a client that is not looking when you meet them. Showcasing new builds, showcasing modern technology, showcasing them the really cool open floor plans that pretty much everybody wants now. If you showcase those, you will get people thinking about it. People that right now are like, I like my house, I'm fine where I am. And then they go, oh crap, our kitchen sucks compared to that. And oh wow, look at that bathroom. And man, we can't even finish our basement. We have a 7-foot ceiling. New builds will bring people out of the woodwork. It will get people thinking and excited, and you will get buyers that currently are not thinking about selling. So they really are the answer. There's a couple other things. I already touched on some of this, but they have inventory, marketing we talked about, but you know what? Most new build buyers have something else in common. Most of them are buy sells. If you market a lot of new builds, if you get people excited about barn dominiums, if you get them excited about, patio homes, if you get them excited about really open California contemporary type stuff, most of them have a home to sell. So if you attract them, you got 2 closings, not 1. That's much better than first-time home buyers that are only 1 closing. So new builds attract buy-sell clients. That's the key to new builds. It gets you into a higher price point. I'm always shocked when I look at Pittsburgh's numbers because being in Columbus, our average sale price is $100,000 higher. And I forget that, and I'll see sales numbers from Pittsburgh. It's like, wow, what the heck? It's not that you have a lot of low-priced homes. It's that the average home price is much lower. Builders get you into that buy-sell. So instead of a $200,000, $300,000 first-time home buyer, you got a $300,000 sale and a $500,000 new build. That's a lot better for your checkbook. So new builds are one of the answers to this. All right, now comes the really exciting part, financing. I know everybody loves that. I could talk about Amway probably and be more interesting than financing. But if you can tell me how a reverse mortgage can help you close more homes and increase your price range, I would be impressed. Most agents understand that a reverse mortgage means an old person can put down less money and never make a payment. But do you understand that a client who has $300,000 in equity in their current home that's over 62 years old can buy a $500,000 home, have no payment, and not put any more money down than what they were planning on out of that equity, which means your price range just went up. You can meet people that are living in $300,000, $200,000 paid off homes and get them their dream home. They're not thinking about selling because they only have their equity. They can't buy anything nicer than what they have. Yes, they can. If they're over 62, they can use a reverse mortgage or a HECM purchase, and they can buy their dream house. How well do you guys know down payment assistance? If you know it really well, great. If you don't, you need to learn it. In Pittsburgh, there are lenders, and it's based on income levels, it's based on parts of town, etc. But there are lenders, there are programs that will give you as much as $12,000 towards down payment or closing costs. A lot of those programs, after 5 or 7 years, it's forgiven, which means you don't have to pay it back. But those programs are all over. There's federal government down payment programs, there's local bank programs. We in Columbus now have, and I can tell you, because I know factually, the bank is looking at Pittsburgh right now, determining what areas. But we actually have we have a lender in Columbus, and they will be in Pittsburgh soon. Everybody gives money to get people to move into lower income neighborhoods. This bank is giving a $9,000 forgivable grant to move out of those neighborhoods. So the $150,000, $200,000 neighborhoods that, a lot of lower income people are forced to buy into, when they want to move to a better school district, when they want to get their kids into a better, safer area, this bank is giving them $9,000 forgivable to help them move out. There's government grants, there's military grants, there's charitable grants. There's all kinds of programs out there. If you don't know them, grab a lender and start asking. If you don't even know, if you can't even find a lender that knows it well, call me. I'll hook you up with a couple really good lenders that know them really well. But it is not unreasonable to have someone move into a $300,000 house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with no money out of their pocket, because they can get the down payment assistance to cover the down payment, and you can negotiate with the seller for closing costs, and they literally can move in with nothing out of pocket. How do you create buyers out of nowhere? You market that. You know, if they're going to move rentals, they're going to have to put down a first month and a security deposit, or last month and security deposit. People can buy a house in Pittsburgh literally with nothing out of pocket with some of these programs. If you don't know about those, then you don't know how to talk about them. You don't know how to get people's light bulb to go, really? Well, I wasn't planning on buying, but tell me more. Maybe I will buy. I mentioned earlier, there's ways to buy rental properties without the client's income even mattering. There's lenders that can do it just on the rent. If you don't know where to get that done, you need to know. You absolutely have to know if you're going to create buyers out of the air, just out of the universe, that are not planning on buying. And there's a lot of lenders that have that program. And you know, the comment on, you know, you can do 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit FHAs if you're going to live in one for a year. So somebody can go buy a nice duplex, live in it for a couple years, get the rent. When they're ready to move out, they have 2 rental properties, positive cash flowing, and they can do that with 3.5% down on an FHA loan. You've got to understand this stuff. The other way to create buyers out of the air, and I am going to give you my script on this. One of the biggest problems that we have right now, I hear it from agents literally every day. They had a buyer they were showing houses to that were 350, or I'm sorry, that were 400,000. The buyer they didn't find anything, but that they liked that price. Now, because of the rates, they're qualifying for 350 or even 300. And the homes that they're seeing now make them miserable because they got used to seeing the nicer houses. So one of the things that if I was still selling, I sold an awful lot of houses this way. I would say to people, yeah, I'm a realtor, but I'm not really a realtor. I specialize in something. I specialize in helping people buy $400,000 homes for the payment of a $350,000 home. Boy, do people get interested, especially people that have just kind of felt like, well, I'm priced out for what I can afford. I can't get what I want. But you know, it's very, very easy. If a client can qualify for 350, it's very easy to get them a 400, even a 425 home. It's just negotiating a couple points in the closing costs. It's getting the seller to give them some concessions and buy the rate down. And you can buy the rate down, and instead of making a payment based on 400 at 7.5%, all of a sudden you're making the payment based at 6.75%, and these people can afford it. Almost zero realtors are out there talking about that because they don't understand financing. There are right now, I don't know how many, but there's thousands of people in Pittsburgh that want to buy, but the rates took them out of the market. It's not that they won't buy because of the rate. They won't buy because their payment to buy what they want went up so much they no longer qualify. So if you can learn how to qualify people, you absolutely will sell homes to people that are not in the market. True story, friend of mine down in Virginia, his brother fell in love with a $900,000 house. And the mortgage company qualified him for $700,000. I helped work it out. We worked it out where he got the $900,000 house and his payment is on a $700,000 home. The seller wanted to sell that. That seller gave $45,000 in concessions. We used it to buy the rate down, and the $700,000 buyer is living in a $900,000 house. If you understand this, you will sell more houses. Financing is the number one, always has been, always will be. Financing has always been the number one hurdle in buying a home. Qualifying, credit score, interest rate, down payment, all of those, they make up financing. If you really, really understand it, you can talk to people all day long that are not in the market because they don't think they can buy or they don't think they can sell. If you understand this, you can help every one of those people that other agents are going, well, I don't know what to tell you. Call your lender. The financing secret sauce, the only people that care about the purchase price of the home are people paying cash. Have you ever gone to a car dealer where they really talked about the purchase price, or do they talk about the payment? Car salespeople do not want to tell you the car is $42,000. They want to tell you that you can buy that car for a payment of $600. Because people, unless they're paying cash, buy payment. People go to the jewelry store to buy diamond rings, to get engaged. Almost always they're buying payment. Credit cards, people will charge a $10,000 vacation because they'll go, wow, the minimum payment's only $200. If you tell them it's 10 grand, they'll start to sweat. People care about the purchase price only if they're paying cash. Home buyers are no different. I guarantee every one of you, if I said I got $1 million house in a great place in Pittsburgh and you can buy it for $1,000 a month, I guarantee most of you are going to put your hand up, yes, please. And you're probably not even going to ask me how long the mortgage term is, because you would give $1,000 a month for the rest of your life to live in a gorgeous $1 million home. People buy payment. So the secret sauce of understanding financing is it doesn't matter what the house price is. If the people can qualify and afford the payment, you just created a buyer out of the air. You just got a buyer that no one else has. If you don't believe me, go to a builder model and see how they sell. Builders talk about payment. They talk about how much a month do you want your payment to be. And then they say, here's the houses and the lots that we have that will do that. They don't say this house is 450 grand. They say this house is $3,000 a month. That's how the builders sell. That's how everyone but us sells. It really, truly is. Even insurance, when you call to get a quote for insurance, they tend to quote you monthly rates, not annually, because they know what you really care about is what you're spending each month. Very few people pay their policy up front for the year. So, do you have plans? Do you have lenders that will help you? Everyone on here is a Keller Williams agent, I believe, unless someone has a guest. We have this thing called Keller Mortgage, right? It's owned by Mutual of Omaha now. Gary sold it off, but it's still Mutual of Omaha, Keller Williams Mortgage. Not every Keller Williams lender, loan officer will do this. But do you know that on loans over 250, 300, they actually can give the client 3/4 of a point to buy the rate down or towards closing cost and waive $800 of their fees for any agent, but really Keller Williams agents. So if you have a buyer that's looking at a house that's going to have a $300,000 mortgage, all you've got to do is know which one of the Keller Williams lenders to call, and they will give your client 3/4 of a point. That'll buy the rate down a lot, or that'll pay that'll pay thousands of dollars of closing costs and save them that money, and they'll waive $800 worth of their fees. If you do not know a Keller Williams lender, loan officer that will do that, call me. My guy here in Columbus also works Pittsburgh. He lived in that area forever, does a lot of business there. The reason I say not every loan officer will do it is understand if they do that, they're cutting their commission in half. They're taking a big haircut on their money. So they're only going to do it for people that send them business. They're only going to do it for people that want to work with them. But what a great reason to work with them. And by the way, their fees and rates are very, very competitive. In a lot of cases, their fees and rates are already on the low end, and then they'll cut it. If you have that lender, will that help you with someone who goes, yeah, someday we're going to buy, but right now with the rates being high, or we're still saving up money for our down payment, you just solved that problem and you turned a I'm not ready into, oh, okay, let's talk. So the financing secret sauce is understand it, understand that people buy payment, and make sure you have the right lenders. And if you don't, get the right lenders, get the right loan officers, please. Everybody still awake?
Yeah.
The next way to create business out of nowhere is to expand your horizons. Hopefully you're all members of a bunch of referral groups online. Keller Williams has their referral groups. There's all kinds of real estate referral groups across the country, lab coat agents, etc. In these groups, if you pay attention, all the time things come up. Do you know, I need a lender in Pittsburgh. I need a realtor in Pittsburgh. I need this. I need this. If you watch, I need a realtor to refer to comes up all the time in Pittsburgh, in Columbus, in everywhere. If you're a member of those groups and really pay attention to them and respond quickly, there's a lot of opportunities. Now, yes, those people are actually not being created out of thin air, but they don't currently live in Pittsburgh. They're moving to Pittsburgh or they're selling in Pittsburgh. Those people are going to be referred. They don't exist in the normal cosmos, meaning they're not working with a realtor they already know. If they're being referred, that actually is creating business that doesn't exist right now, that you would be the only realtor to talk to them. So really pay attention to the referral groups. Join social media groups. Join the investor groups. Join the wholesalers groups. I know wholesalers can be a pain in the neck, so can investors, but there's people in those groups every day that are thinking about or dreaming about buying their first home. They're not ready yet. Those are the people that you can talk to and bring financing programs and bring things to and turn them from a not now to I'm ready to go, and you just created a client. And become an investor. If you own a house and you're slow on business, put a for sale sign in the front yard and do an open house Saturday and Sunday. You don't have to take an offer unless someone offers you something really, really stupid that you can't turn down. But hold your own house open for a weekend and you will have buyers to work with. It's actually a great way to kickstart your business if you hit a slump. But becoming an investor yourself, buying and selling, flipping, owning rentals, that will expand your horizon. There's an agent here in town who owns 10 rentals. Every time one comes available for rent, they market it like crazy and they pick up 10 to 15 buyers from each rental because they'll get 150 calls. Rentals in this town are hard to come by if it's not an apartment. So expanding your horizons, go further than 10 miles from your office. Stephanie tells me where she drives, and I'm from the other side of Pennsylvania. I'm from Philly, but she'll name things that it's like, I'm pretty sure those are an hour and a half away from the office. But if it's a high enough price point, expand your horizons, go to areas that you've never gone to, do a little bit of light commercial, rent some houses instead. If you get rental clients, yeah, you don't make any money this year, but they're in your database for next year. Expand your horizons. It will create business that is not currently there. How to expand it on social media? This is what I would recommend. Be in 5 referral groups for agents. So if you're not, go join 5. Now you got to watch them. If you don't pay attention, it's not helpful. So join them and pay attention when they're asking for people to refer to. Join 5 local real estate groups, whether it's a new build group, whether it's a remodeling group, whether it's a wholesale group. Get in 5 local real estate groups and watch those. You'll get to see people all the time that are not in the market, but could be if the right agent talked to them and shared the right things. Get in at least 5 local business groups. If you live in Shadyside, get into the local Shadyside business groups. Get into the what's going on in Pittsburgh groups. Get into at least 5 local business groups. You'll be amazed at how many times people in those groups ask for real estate advice or ask for an introduction to a realtor. It happens far more than you would think if you pay attention. And then last, get into your opportunity groups. An opportunity group is a group that consists of people, some of whom you already know. So if your church has a Facebook page, your kid's school does, your hobbies, get into opportunity groups where you probably already know some people and you're just engaging and you're growing your database. People will find out you're a realtor and someone's going to call and say, I have a real estate question. What do you think is going to happen with rates? Because we're thinking about buying, but we really want to wait for rates to come down. You do your thing, you find them a good rate, you find them a lender that can help them, you find them a way to save money, and you just turned a not ready into a client. So be active on social media. Let's kind of land the plane here. This comes down to knowledge. You can't use financing to get business if you don't understand financing. You can't use new builds if you're not aware of the builders, what the processes are, what you need to do to take your clients there. This takes knowledge. If you don't have it, you're going to have to invest a little bit of time in getting it. This takes having a program. If you're going to do my rental program, don't do it for 2 weeks and then not again for 6 weeks. You commit to something like that, it's a daily task or a weekly task. You have to do it and keep doing it and keep following up. And that database needs to be farmed for years and years. Referral partners are essential. You want to know handymen, painters, carpet cleaners, inspectors, mortgage people. You want to surround yourself with all the people that your clients might need, because the easier you make it for a client, the easier it is to make them a client. And you got to be visible. You've got to be on social media. You've got to be out at open houses. You've got to be out in public. You've got to be standing there talking about real estate all the time. You've got to have people see you. So you've got to arm yourself to do this. All right, stopping the share. Now I'll know if everyone's awake. Stephanie's heads up. That's a good sign. And we don't have too many people still with us. So 1 o'clock, some people must have had to jump. So questions. So either I bored you, you learned everything, or I gave you so much your head's full and you need to go to slice of pizza.
Pizza's gone. I think you gave us a lot to digest.
I'm very serious. If you have questions one-on-one, get my name, get my number and stuff from Stephanie and call me, email me, carrier pigeon me, and we can talk one-on-one, give you tips on any part of this. Let's see, Linda Elder just chatted. She asked 2 questions. Is it better to call the expireds or send a postcard? And how do you search rented properties on Zillow? You know, I don't think there's a better way to work expireds, because every expired's different. Some are going to respond better to a postcard. Some are going to respond better to a call. I think you kind of do what you're comfortable with, and you do 50 of them, and you kind of keep track of what's working better and figure out what works for you. I think expireds, it depends. I've knocked on the doors of expireds. I've called them, I've mailed letters, I've mailed postcards. A lot of the time in reality, I had a client looking for something like what they owned, where I would knock and say, hey, I know you were trying to sell the house. You took it off the market. I got a client I think would be interested. If you don't mind my asking, if I brought you the client, would you still be interested in selling? You know, that's an easy conversation to have at someone's front door. But so I think a combination, if I was doing it, I probably would mail them something once or twice, and I probably would call them. The rented properties question on Zillow, and I don't have Zillow pulled up. And I'm on the weird Zillow. You know, there's 2 actual Zillow profiles. 90% of people, if you search Zillow, get one look and 10% get the other, and I get the weird one. It's because I used to pay Zillow. I believe on both, though, in the upper left corner, I believe there's a button that says for sale and there's a button that says for rent right next to it. And if you click the for rent button, you can see all the ones for rent. You can put in zip codes, you can draw maps, the same way you can search for sales. So you just have to click on the for rent button, and then everything else is the same. And it's a great way, by the way, to meet investors. Because if you look down through the rentals, a lot will be management companies, but some will be individual owners. And you can call them and say, hey, I noticed you had this for rent. I just thought I'd check. You're looking to add to your portfolio, because I come across good rental properties all the time. It's a good way to find more investors too, by the way. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add to that. Linda, around here, realtor.com actually has a stronger listing than Zillow. Zillow scrubs theirs out a little bit more. And then also apartments.com. When I start looking for investors, I'm actually using apartments.com, and you get a little bit more information on the ownership group for the property on apartments.com as well. Like I have a list of apartments that I'm watching. When I see that they fall off, meaning somebody's rented them, I wait about 10 months and then I send a postcard saying if somebody's interested in.
Okay,
Purchase.
that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Stephanie. So basically, we're just giving it that 6 months to 8 months
Right.
and send a postcard or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then when I see the owners, I will actually reach out to the owners, and just as Ken had said, I mean, it's no wonder I do this, he trains me. But, you know, I make the phone call that say, are you looking to add to your portfolio, or are you actually looking to remove some properties from your portfolio?
Right. I like it. Thank you, Steph.
You have a double, yeah, you have a double contact, potential buyers, as far as the tenants go, and then, you know, with the sellers, and then I always have a discussion on, you know, first right of refusal with the seller. Or with
Yeah.
or in case they're interested in selling the property to the person who's already renting it.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I did that with.
Nice.
And you know, when you're marketing the tenants, when I did it, and most of my coaching clients use 3 postcards. They'll mail one, and 2 weeks later, 10 days to 2 weeks, they'll mail a second and then a third, and then they'll door knock and they'll drop off. The people aren't there. If they are there, they hand it to them. They'll drop off a packet of information on home ownership. You know,
Nice.
along with some examples of homes they could buy for the same payment as the rent. But those 3 postcards, what I would always do, one would be stop making your landlord rich. You know, one would be, you know, if you want to paint the walls any color you want and do what you want to do in your home, you need to own. And one would be a quote from a Warren Buffett or someone like that about, you know, 90% of the wealth in this country was created by home ownership. So I would do 3 different themed postcards. You know, because you never know what hot button's going to hit someone. But, and then, you know, then I'd have a packet with a letter with with similar homes they could buy for the same payment as rent, the benefits of home ownership, things like that. And I would knock on the door. If they weren't there, I would hang it on the door with the door hanger. If they were there, it was amazing how many conversations it led to. And, you know, people run in tribes, they run in packs. People that rent single family homes usually know a lot of other people that rent single family homes. And you know, even if they're not ready, it's like, you know, I want to introduce you to my friend. The referrals tend to come from it quite a bit. So, well, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get there live. I promise I will get out there live soon.
Yes, we have a question here, Tim.
But
Yeah, quickly, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see what kind of like data would you use in a database with leads that you were referring to earlier? Like besides just a general name, like what kind of information are you collecting on these people that you're talking about whenever you're looking at like these single family renters?
you know, if you're talking about single family renters, what I like to know is as much about the house they're renting as possible. So if you go to Zillow or Realtor.com, it'll tell you it's 3 bedroom, 2 bath. You know, you can look at the pictures so you can see if it has a fenced yard, small yard, big yard, 1-car garage, 2-car garage, attached, detached. If you just take a quick look through it, that database tells me what information to talk to them about. So if they're in a rental that is really outdated, you know, I saw one the other day that had white appliances and butcher block fake Formica counters and, you know, just rolled, vinyl floor. That house, not only are they renting a single family home, but they're renting an outdated, really old single family home. Odds are it's got old AC, old furnace, and their utility bills are twice what they could be. So I'll do the address, the price, the square footage, the basic room count, and then I'll take a quick, 60-second glance through the photos and make just a couple general notes on condition. So when I knock on their door and I talk to them or I leave them info, I'm showing them houses and saying, look at this. This house has been updated significantly compared to where you're renting. Similar square footage, lot, area, and you can buy it for the payment would be basically the same as rent. If it might be a tad higher, but I don't say that because once you talk to them about tax write-offs and all that, the payment will be lower, when they look at the overall financials. So but I do keep a little bit on the house. So I have an idea about the client as far as what they're renting now, because that I think will help you find them what they should buy. Any other questions? Well, thank you all. Have a great day. Go out and start working the rental program or one of them. Go sell some houses.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.